We all know boss fights are the best part of Dokkan, and they are the main reason we keep investing our time and, for some of us, our money in the game. In this video, I want to go over some of the best boss fights in Dokkan that either had a major influence on the game or hold a special place in the community's heart. These are your guys' entries, mixed with a couple of mine, but mostly picks that I've gotten from you guys. I've asked my Discord and I've asked, the streams. So these are your guys' picks, and I'm going to organize them, in my opinion, in a tier system, and we're going to see how it goes. So if I miss any events, just make sure to let me know in the comments, and I'll reply. I reply to every comment. So if you got something to say, just go ahead. Let's get straight into the ranking. Let me just pull this up. First, these aren't in any order, but you'll see how I rank them. Anyways, so our first entry will be Festival of Battles. Now, I am not the biggest Festival of Battles enjoyer. I did it the one time. I'm kind of a hater of this, actually, because it takes really long. It's really punishing, but it is a really cool and unique event, and I think its influence will never be matched, right? Anytime you see a stacking unit release, you know what it's meant for now. Everyone thinks Festival of Battles. That's all we think of when we see a stacking unit, or any unit that can even stack for a few turns. We just want to see, will it last in Festival of Battles? It's always fun to see. Everyone's excited for that The Truth video to see how it turns out, if the unit's good in long form or whatever. But where would I put it? I'd put it at an A tier event, just because of how creative it is. It's very fun the first time you do it. I'm not the biggest enjoyer of doing it over and over, but that's why I won't give it an S tier, but I'll give it an A tier. So it's very, very solid. I think it's a very solid event. I like the idea, and I hope we get more unique events like this. It's very cool. Now, next event, Go Frieza. Very legendary event. This is just an honestly goated event. So many cool mechanics. Also, shout out to the thumbnail. Whoever made this thumbnail, I'm sorry, I just took it off of Google. But very cool event. Got some dodge nullification. Got some units that did do very well in this, and it was no joke, right? This was a very tough event. So I'm gonna give it S tier, but the mechanics were creative and not too toxic. It still took a lot of skill to clear this, so I'm gonna give this an S tier. S tier event for Go Frieza. This was honestly such a cool fight. We tested many units against this event when they came out to see if they were good, because this was the benchmark at the time for probably one of the hardest events, to see the longevity of a unit and how good it is. Next event we're ranking is going to be Golden Frieza Red Zone from the movie Bosses Red Zone. I think this came out around when Hirudegan came out with Dragon Fist Goku. This event I like a lot. I think it was very cool, challenging, cool mechanics, not too toxic. I believe it does have that one turn KO thing where he does that world breaker thing, but that's only in his last phase. And I think it's very a very unique and cool fight. So I would give this an A tier thing. I would maybe even give it a little bit higher than Festival of Battles. Now, don't hate me for that, but we'll just put it above Festival of Battles. I really enjoyed this fight at the time. I had so much fun doing it. Not much to say there, but it was a very unique fight for the time, and you have to pretty much make good use of the new units as well. Very cool fight. Next up, we got AGL Super Broly from the movie Bosses Red Zone. Boy, oh boy, was this a legendary fight. This guy was terrifying. He was very hard to take on, basically all the way up until Orange Piccolo came out. Orange Piccolo came, showed this guy who's daddy, and just dominated him. This fight was legendary though. Difficult AoEs, definitely an A tier fight though. Very memorable. Everyone knows this. Everyone who was playing during the 7th year of Dokkan and even into the 8th year remembers the Broly fight. Had some very tough phases, was no joke. Now, next fight, this was definitely from the Discord. The Bratz and Gohan. This is a new fight. I actually don't think this is too bad of a fight. I think it's actually a really good fight. It does have some creativity to it, because you have to choose who to attack, right? Usually you want to take out the duo first, because they do a lot of damage right off the bat, but by the time you take care of them, it's possible that Gohan starts hitting you really hard, because Gohan gets stronger every turn. I really did enjoy this fight though. Very tough. I think what team did I use? I think I was able to beat this with the Omega team. Yeah, this fight, it's a good creative fight. I'd be willing to give this fight S tier, and I think this fight will be remembered for a while. Let's just shrink that down a little bit to make it fit. But yeah, I like this fight a lot, so definitely a solid S tier for the Bratz and Gohan. Not too toxic. You got multiple supers in a turn, but you're gonna so the slot 1 super is dangerous, but after that I think you're chilling. It kind of sucks that Gohan does crits, but that's not so toxic that I would consider it a bad mechanic. Up next, Fusion Zamasu, instant S tier. This was such a good year of Dokkan. You could try so many strategies. This fight was insane. Shout out Blue Jink, by the way, because he tested every 200% leader against this boss just to see how they would work. And some teams actually worked better than others. The key to this fight is you had to get so much value out of your units, right? And you also had to understand that you probably were going to KO. So we definitely were in a revive / dodge meta here. But it was actually a really fun meta because even though dodge was the star, so many units were able to succeed in this event. But it wasn't like it was easy success. It was like you had to play perfectly. This was such an amazing fight. I don't know why. It's very simple, but man, was it a fun fight. The AoEs were cool. The super attacks hit really hard. You had to just play perfectly, and sometimes you got bad rotations, but it wasn't really the boss's fault. It was just like Dokkan shenanigans, and you couldn't hate it. But obviously we all know Earthbred Fighters was by far the best team in the game for beating this consistently. You could beat this boss fight with many different teams though. It's just it wouldn't be consistent. You have to get quite lucky and play perfectly, but consistently you could beat this team with Earthbred Fighters thanks to World Tournament Goku's nullification and his revive buff. We weren't using him for his revive, but we were using the GT duo from the 8th anniversary for their revive because it was way easier to get off, and then it would give Goku his buff. Anyways, man, that team was just my favorite team to ever use. It was like LR Bulma, LR Orange Piccolo, LR Gohan from the Worldwide Download Celebration, and then you had the World Tournament Goku. You had Majunior. Man, I remember that team like the back of my hand, bro. That's crazy. Wow, what an amazing team. What an amazing fight too. I love this fight. This is like my by far my favorite fight. I don't even care if that's biased, but that is my favorite fight. I really love this Zamasu fight. Let's just move it up a little bit. Now, next fight, we gotta talk about the Omega fight. Whew. This one was a little bit toxic, but still not as toxic as some of the fights we have today, right? A little bit toxic, but not too toxic. He had AoEs, he could dodge. His super was an AoE in the last phase, I'm pretty sure, and it did like insane damage. I might be wrong. Oh no, I think it was the STR phase. Oh, I don't 100% remember off the top of my head, but this was a really cool fight. I just think it was a little bit toxic because it almost required you to have like a really good slot 1, and most of the time that slot 1 needed to be SSJ4 full power Goku, who wasn't really easily accessible to most people. So this fight, I would put it B tier, but still a very good fight. A lot of cool mechanics. He had, I think, 3 or 4 phases, and it was cool because if you brought a stacking team, you could stack up pretty well. One unit who did surprisingly well in this was Tech Ultimate Gohan with his stacking. I don't think he was perfect for it, but he did do all right. He was very interesting to see in this fight because he could actually get a decent amount of stacks off before getting to the harder parts of the fight. But yeah, I mean, you definitely have to take advantage of some revive skills and some dodge characters, but this was a good fight. I would probably even put it A tier, but we got to diversify the list a little bit. So yeah, next fight, this Kid Buu. I think it's just a solid B tier fight. He was difficult. He was no joke, but he was also, yeah. I mean, it's not too crazy to talk about him. He just had nullifications, which was a bit annoying, but he was a memorable fight in my opinion. I feel like we went up against him quite a few times just because he was kind of the benchmark for like a small niche period. He was the benchmark of difficulty. But yeah, I mean, not too much to say about this Kid Buu. I'd say he's a good solid B tier. And now we got a couple more interesting picks to talk about. Obviously, STR Broly Dokkan event, legendary Dokkan event. Some of my fondest memories are from building my team to literally grind the medals for STR Broly back in the early years of Dokkan. I would put him probably low A tier, but just because he was the first taste of difficult content for us, right? You had to run a specific category with no like actual reward for it. You just had to run it so you could beat the fight. But he also gave like SRs and certain cards more value just because they could actually damage him. Like I remember SR Trunks was the meta because he was accessible to everyone. You could probably level up his super attack level relatively easily, and he was just able to do a decent amount of damage to this Broly. And that's crazy because back in this day, the bosses only had like 3 health bars and you still would struggle. Obviously, later on, the physical version came out who also needs you to like crit to do damage. Just a bunch of like bull crap, but this boss fight is very memorable, very influential to how hard content is today. You got like AoEs, the boss has crazy defense, you need certain categories. Well, nowadays you don't need certain categories to do damage, but it's just for like challenges, right? Obviously there's like those missions, you know what I mean. But yeah, I think it gets a low A tier because of just the influence and the aura. Now, next fight, very memey fight. This Trunks, the one that hits for 16 million in the blue zone. Okay, I'm pretty much just putting this guy here for the memes, but man, did he have influence on the community. Everybody was losing their minds when we saw the numbers for this fight. It was basically, you kind of just had to nuke him before he could get off a good attack on you, or you were cooked. So I don't really think he's that creative or that special, so I'd put him C tier, but he definitely is going to be a memorable fight because he is probably the hardest hitting boss right now, aside from, you know, like Festival of Battles, but he was hitting 16 million on turn 1, so it's definitely no joke. Next fight, kind of niche. We got Metal Cooler Core. This one's a little bit niche. I don't remember too much, so real quick, let me just check what he did. Okay, so yeah, Cooler, basically he started out in his Metal Cooler like silver shiny form, and then he would turn into his core form, because I think the Metal Cooler form had like a billion HP or whatever, but the core form was the one you could actually do damage to. I just think this was a cool fight, very memorable. Not much to say. He hit hard, and for the time he was released, I'm pretty sure one of the best teams to run against him was that STR Movie Heroes Piccolo. That was like very solid defensively, and he was type effective, so he was solid. You run them on the Movie Heroes team with the LR Gods, I think, and that was probably one of the best teams to beat this event. Like, you know, pretty niche, but I think just because of how memorable it is, it gets a spot here. Not the most creative thing ever, so maybe like between B and C, but you know, that's a solid spot to give him. This wasn't the craziest fight, it was just memorable, and this is one of my picks that I stuck into the video, so I won't rate it too high. Now this one was actually like, a couple people talked about Fighting Legends Goku, and I was like, you know what, that's completely valid. Fighting Legends Goku kind of started off the whole hard content wave, and for that, like, I gotta give it at least A tier. Obviously now it's very easy to clear it, but it's a good little test for new players to see if their team actually functions. You can also, like, you know, test, like, it's a good place to learn, right? It also, at the time, was a ton of fun when it came out. It was like a legendary fight. Like, it was literally legendary. Like, everybody loved to do this fight. It was good for content for YouTubers. I remember watching so many videos facing off different teams, races, all against this Goku. And I'm just going to group in the other Fighting Legends because they're all the same. But good stones, good tickets. It was very solid. Yeah, I mean, not much more to say there. It was just, it introduced us to some mechanics that bosses could have, and it was our first taste of like actual kind of difficult content. That's a solid A tier there. Probably even put it above the Broly, just for how legendary it is. Maybe I'd even put it higher, for being honest. Actually, you know what? I'd probably put it at the top of A tier. I think that's completely fair, just for how much influence it had on the game and how much it changed the game. And for our last two spots, we've got this insane Cell Max. I remember watching Nanogenics take on this when this came out with his team and getting absolutely smoked and being like, okay, so we're at a new level of difficulty. That's for sure. Where would I place it in a ranking though? Where would I place it in a ranking? Bro, this guy would hit hard. He had AoEs. Wait, did he have AoEs? Did I remember that correctly, or was that the other Cell Max fight? Regardless, when this Cell Max fight came out originally, it was very influential because it was our first view of Cell Max, and he got his own hard event, and everyone was like, yeah, this is a new level of difficulty. Definitely took some thinking to beat this guy, but once Vegeta and Trunks came out, they were definitely the strat to beat him. I would do like mid A tier. Definitely an influential fight. Do something like that. Let's move you over. Give you guys some space. But yeah, I mean, these were all solid fights. Oh, and then the last guy, last but certainly not least, we got to talk about Rose Masu. This fight is currently the benchmark of difficulty. Definitely, you got to put your thinking cap on to beat this. Well, not really thinking cap. You just got to not attack Goku. I would say this is a really good event. It's cool. The boss has healing. I think it does have some position lock, which is pretty toxic. I'm not the biggest fan of that, but I would put it like mid A tier, mid high A tier, something like that. I think that's completely fair. And yeah, I mean, that's the last boss fight I had here. I think this is a pretty valid list. I mean, let me know if you change anything. Maybe these guys wouldn't be S tier. Maybe I'd move up like one of the Brolys or something, or Cell Max. But I think this is a pretty valid list here. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. This is how I would rank all of the boss fights. And also pretty much as you go through your account, you know, playing for the first time, you could probably like clear this first and then slowly move on up, do something like this. Obviously this is way too easy. You don't just forget about this, you know, and then you'd start like working on Omega or Zamasu. Then you'd go on to clear, like, you know, what else would we clear here? Oh yeah, go Frieza, Then probably Kid Buu. I completely forgot about him, but he'd be one of the first ones you'd clear probably before these two. Then afterwards, once you've gotten to like, you know, end game level, you start taking on Festival, you start taking on Rosemasu, you start taking on the Bratz and Gohan, and then you start taking on Trunks. Yeah, I mean, pretty solid list. I think these were some of my favorite events, most memorable for me as well, but these are all your guys' picks that you guys kind of talked about in the Discord or on stream. Let me know what you guys think. And yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and bye.